bum bum ba bum 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 ba dum bum bum ba bum bum ba bum bum ba bum bum. But I am I.
No, originally we went into it.
Well, we went it many times, but I certainly don't begrudge it to you. I think it's a good thing to review again.
At the tone, please record your name, followed by the pound key.
Our Paltiel.
Thank you. You are participant number 2.
All right, recording.
Record it. Great. Ay 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 da yahtiri da ya 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 di okay, so in that case we will just go through the few lines here. I was explaining essentially the difference between the way the Gilui Ha'or, the Hashpah, comes in the case of the Parsa between Atzilus and Biyah, as opposed to the way it comes in the case of the Tzimtzum between Oyer and Soif and the Kav. And the whole Seder Ishtalshalos.
It's cold today. 32.
And he explains. The first principle in understanding this is to understand the state of the Oyer prior to the Tzimtzum and the state of the Oyer prior to the Parsa. Prior to the Tzimtzum, the Oyer is what we call Oyer in Soif, which means this is the Oyer that is totally representative of the Etzem. And there is not an element, an aspect in this Oyer that can be identified from a worldly perspective. And as we explained, the principle in this is world means that there is a process, and this Oyer there is no process. It's Oyer in Soif. Why is it in Soif? Because the Etzem is in Soif. Not because the Etzem produces it indefinitely, but because it is reflective of the Etzem. The Etzem is in Soif, and this is the Oyer is in Soif. So this Oyer has no thank you very much, relationship to world. What is world? I mean, oilments, worldliness, and so forth. In essence, worldliness versus godliness. Worldliness, we could say there are two elements that we identify: worldliness versus godliness. Worldliness has to come into being. And as a result of that, worldliness represents multiplicity, interaction, cause and effect. One thing is based on the other. That's world. There is not a single thing in the world that is not defined by multiplicity. We are pointing out many times. I always go on a tangent, but once you start, the entire planetary system, a wonderful thing, and there's day and night, not just night and just day. And night, many things. Day, many things. The only thing that one can say that is reminiscent of a singularity is the Shemayim, is the sky. And in a certain sense, the sky really does not lend itself into worldly comprehension and grasp. You can't grasp sky per se what it is. We'll sometimes discuss it more. But in world, sky is like the encompassing background that allows world to be. But world per se is all multiplicity, has to come into being. That's world. Therefore, Ayin Sof has no possibility of relating to world. That's why Ayin Sof had to be completely retracted and then reintroduced as we discussed. In contrast, the Oyer before the Paltiel, the Oyer in Atzilus, although, as we say, Atzilus is also godly, and godly by definition means it's not created, but this is godliness at the at the level of worldliness. It's called Olam Ha'elokus. Atzilus is referred to as Olam Ha'elokus. It's a godly world. What does it mean, it's a godly world? It means that it is a world because there are Oyeres V'Kelim, and there are many entities. There is spheres, 10 spheres. But these 10 spheres are totally, so to speak, totally imbued with Elokus. There is not an element of Bria, of a new creation in Atzilus. Even the Kelim, as it says, the Kelim, the creation of the world, Yesh Me'ayin, comes from the Kelim. Kelim the Atzilus. So Atzilus represents, yes, it's Olam Ha'eliki, but it is already Elokus in a measured manner, so that it has a proximity to world. World can, there is something that you could see from it, the principle of world. As a result, because this is a noyer that has a proximity to world, it does not need to be completely withdrawn and then reintroduced, because we can take this same oil and passes it through a malbish it into a keli, what's called a parser, and then it becomes a world, and then it can create world, it can relate to world, because in essence it is already something that has a measure which has the world principles. As a result of these differences, there is therefore a primary difference in how the oil is reflected and brought down into the next stage, from Atzilus into Biyah, and from Oyer Sof into the Kav. From Oyer Sof into the Kav cannot come the essential oil, because this oil cannot relate to world, cannot relate to it. What comes only ha'orah of the soil. Whereas from Atzilus into Biyah, since that the oil itself can relate to Biyah, therefore the oil itself comes with his lapshus, the Indian from his lapshus. The oil itself comes with his lapshus, and it also the oil translates itself, is translated in Biyah form, Biyah terms. And we had mishalim for this from the nefesh, the way the nefesh is mislabish in the goof, and so forth. Okay. Now we're making a point that the effect, the result of these two means of gilui, derech hislapshus of the mehuzoer, and derech haora, when you only have a haora, not the mehuzoer. It's not derech hislapshus, because the oil cannot be mislavish. It is through the tzimtzum. There are advantages in each and disadvantages. There's advantages in the Indian that is hislapshus, because you have the mehus ha'ir, you have the essential Indian itself. And in our moshel here, we need the moshel. In our moshel, this is the Indian, like the nefesh is mislabish in the goof, where the goof itself comes to life. The goof does not know about life, does not see life. The goof lives and reflects nefesh qualities. It is sensitive. True, it is sensitive at the goof level, because the nefesh is mislabish in the goof. It's not sensitive to godliness, to that which the nefesh is sensitive to. But it has sensitivity, translated sensitivity on the goof level. Life at the goof level, but it's life. The goof is transformed, really. It becomes nefesh in a certain sense. Because, as we pointed out many times, the goof has no lasting quality whatsoever on its own. And the nefesh can keep it going indefinitely.
And this is a mashal for
hislapshus. You have nefesh itself in the goof. Not you see it, you know it, you approximate it. You have the nefesh. It's mislabish and it becomes part of it. Then you have the other type of relationship, which is you see it, you know it, a gilui oir, not the mahus. And for that, you use the moshel of chokhmah. How chokhmah relates to rotzen. Where chokhmah sees the whole reality of the rotzen. And it can transmit its vision, so to speak, back to Bina and so forth. But Chokhmah never becomes Rotz. Never becomes the essence itself. And because of its beetle, it gets the brightness of the Rotz. But it doesn't become it. It doesn't have. Chokhmah is an act. Chokhmah has to be constantly rejuvenated, not like Rotzen, which is the reality itself. In the goof, the nefesh is mislabish in the goof. And as we said, there isn't this sensation that you are constantly getting it from nefesh. The nefesh is in the goof, and the goof is alive. Not like the relationship between chokhmah or the relationship between sight and sighted, like what you see. You pointed it to say it's a similar, very similar relationship. That which you see is very clear. This is like chokhmah. But you have to keep your eyes open to see it. It's not mislabish in you. And if you close your eyes, and this is the principle that it is at a distance, in other words, it's not you. If you close your eyes, like you don't see it. And you lose it completely. So this is, on the one hand, this is the advantage of the Hislapshus versus Haora. On the other hand, there is a tremendous advantage, superiority, Maila, as it's called, in the Gilui that comes through Chochmah, in the Gilui that comes through Haora, than through Hislapshus. Because in Hislapshus, you have the Oyer in the Hislapshus form. Only that which you can grasp and relate to at the lower level. Whereas in Haora, you actually get to see and to sense the entire reality, the entire truth. And this entire truth, this is what Rebbe's point out, Derech Kiruv. Now we'll discuss the Shinyan Derech Kiruv, the emphasis of Derech Kiruv. Derech Kiruv versus Derech Hakova, that's what's Hakov. Hakova means that it is mislabish in the kelim, and it is misakev. It imbues itself, becomes part and parcel of the kelim, and its source is no longer recognized. Becomes part and parcel of the kelim. That's Derech Hakov. It's wonderful. The kelim comes to life, but it don't have the real truth there. The brightness of the real truth, of the real reality. Think about it. This is how it is possible that you have a beautiful world where Elokus is mislabish in every crack and crevice. And you see world. And it's wonderful. It's tremendous what it can do. You can plant a seed and get a tree. And all you see is the seed producing the tree. Whereas in Haora, this is Pshat Derech Kiruv. Derech Kiruv is the Pshat Hazeh. That what you get is not the light per se. You get the source of the light. Why do you get the source of the light? Because the light does not have its own presence, that it should seek to reach you and to tell you about itself. It is the etzem that's telling you about itself, not the light. But even in a candle, light does not, even in a candle. Who is bringing you light? The light is bringing itself to you, or the candle brings you the light? Therefore, you're relating to the Emes Ha'amiti. This is Din HaChochma. This is what you have in our emotional sight. It's not emotional. It's emotional, but it's emotional amiti, because it's actually reflective of the same meaning on the Gashmizik level. What do we get from sight? Not the objects. Reality. And it is due to sight that we get to realize that there is a creator, the world is real beyond its presence. And this is the pshat b'derech kiruv. Derech kiruv means that the source is not standing away. On the contrary, the source is bringing itself to you through this light.
Okay, it's a quick question.
Yeah.
The other day, you used the mashal of the Rav and the Talmud to illustrate the symptom, and over there, because it sounded to me like when the Rav is B'tzamtim himself and then presents his intelligence on the level of the Talmud, like that sounded a lot like I was confused. That sounded a lot like taking the muhus and being on a lower level. So
No.
I'm getting confused. Yeah.
No, I'll explain to you. Yeah, certainly, it's the same thing. You can say they use the same verbiage
Right.
from one to the other. Difference is that, like the saying is, you can't put a head on his shoulder. You don't really
Like,
make him understand.
So it's a glimpse to something that the Talmud has to then.
That the Talmud has to see.
This is Kiruv because it's the actual inside of the Rav.
Right. This Kiruv, we discussed the principle of Kiruv and Tom talks about the marshal, the Rav and Talmud, also from various angles. I said principally this: the real Kiruv is obvious in terms of the Rav and Talmud, in that when the Rav is mashpia to the Talmud, his impetus, what's inspiring him to be mashpia? It is the ignorance of the Talmud, or it is the great principle that he wants to impart to him.
Yeah, we had this with the other Beis.
Rabbi
Yeah.
Paltiel,
Yes, sir.
so in the Rav and the Talmud, where is the glimpse? Where does he see this spark of the Etzem Ha'or? Does he see it in anything that's said, or he sees it like we say that Meir saw or the Talmud saw Rav Meir from the back? In other words, he sees him saying it, and this he glimpses, not that he really understands this.
Well, seeing him saying it is a deeper and a clearer view. But even in the fact that he is saying it, he sees it. If the Rav is mashpia, if the Rav is a real
In fact,
mashpia,
it's not in any of the words that he says.
it is in the fact that he is saying it.
I see. That's the union of B'derech Kiruv.
B'derech Kiruv. And this is what we pointed out yesterday. I think it was yesterday, that Achiseifel, David HaMelech learned from him two things. Bilvad. What's mean Bilvad? Well, these two things did not come from his essence. It was two things that he knew. And therefore it did not open him up to greater vistas, to further realizations. It was not real hashpah. It's like teaching AyinBase without inferring what this is all about.
Okay, so when the Rav is mashpia,
Can I ask another question about what you said about Rotzin?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Rotzin is something that Chochmah sees, but it doesn't have, like his lavshas. On the other hand, Rotzin, we say, is absolutely constant. You can't be without Rotzin for a moment. It's like life itself.
Is the presence of the nefesh.
But this is something which it doesn't matter if you open or close your eyes, Kaviyachol.
That's
you're not
right.
getting rid of Rotzin.
That's right. You don't get rid of Rotzen, but it's not a part of you. The nefesh is present. The Rotzen is present. Mark this. Even Nachman, a person is in a coma. There's no hashpah there at all.
So this is like, I'm losing the sense of how this reflects the nimshal. This is like this is not the Hislapshus, right?
This is like being in the company of the host, and you're not aware of it.
You're not aware of it. I see.
The power of emotional, huh? Okay, you ready? No, okay. We have to recognize the text. I will start on the line that comes Alidesha Choizer Meir. This is 6 lines from the end of the top section on Kufayin Dalet. But the Gilui, he says, that comes after the Tzimtzum, comes Alidesha Choizer Meir by the fact that it comes back, the original oir, and is Meir again. And it comes in B'chinas Kiruv, as we just now explained, that the whole source is there, Mashpia. Not B'chinas Akova, it is not being retained and transformed into the Makabel. I'm here. Okay, and thus Hagilu Shiachar Atzimtzum. This is why the Gilu that comes after Atzimtzum, Harei Hu Meyein Ho'erin Sof Shlifnei Atzimtzum, is Meyein. It has the quality. It is reflective of the quality of the Eirin Sof Shlifnei Atzimtzum. It is the very same aspect of oir. But why is oir existent? Not because of its effect, not because of its functionality. Oir is there because there is the moir. Shuhu Gamkein Bibchinas Ein Soif, which means that the oil after the Tzimtzum is also Bibchinas Ein Soif, has the element of Ein Soif, and as we explained before, what is Ein Soif? Ein Soif in the oil mean? Why is oil Ein Soif? Not because the oil is Ein Soif, but because the Mokir is Ein Soif. Because the Mokir is Ein Soif, and then automatically the oil is Ein Soif. Come out. V'gam, and then also, Yesh boy koyach ha'atzmus. That's, and it also has Besh boy in this, so there is the koyach ha'atzmus, the actual koyach of the atzm itself. Because it is the oil that is reflective of the atzm. Okmei shekosu b'geras hakedesh anal, and that's right in the b'geras hakedesh in the Tanya, the oil hakav hu me'ein hamoir. The oil hakav is me'ein hamoir. Is again, as we pointed out, what is oil? Not representative of oil, of illumination, but illuminary. Hu bechinas mehuse ve'atzmus. Mein hamoir means that is mehuse ve'atzmus. That the oil hakav contains in it, and it has the power of mehuse ve'atzmus, of the mehuse ve'atzmus. ad, so that shegam ha'oik mish,
and yet we're saying it's only a ha'ara.
and only, that's right.
It has
It's
a
only oil.
kayak of atzmus, and it's only a ha'ara. This seems very contradictory.
Well, because we explained that what is oil altogether. Oil is where the etzem represents itself. Why is there oil? Why is there oil? We have to try and it's a very subtle thing, but we have to ultimately try to focus in and understand this principle. The reason it's difficult for us to understand is because we're used to the Oir HaShemesh, the sunlight. And when we have sunlight, it appears to us that we have a real substance. It's like energy, and it has certain effects. And this is how we're used to looking at a light. There is a luminary, that's where it comes from. And where does the oil come from the luminary? Not from light, but from its energy, from its power. This is how we used to looking at it. But what we fail to recognize that the oil element is a completely different phenomenon. This is the energy. This is the mitzias. This is that which comes with lapses. But what is the oil element? The oil element which is representative of the luminary. It's a completely different thing. We'll have to interrupt and continue mission tonight. Tonight is Thursday, so we're going to have the class in Mitzvah at 679 Crown Street, approximately 8:30. So I hope to see you then. Okay, have a good day.
Is it Kiva Marshall there?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Tell him I need him to call me.
Above the world. Oh, I won't fade away, 'cause the very next day, back in strength and here to stay, reflecting like the moon. Oh, 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 na-ni-na. Oh, oh, ah-mi-na. Oh, oh. 1, 2,